All right, everyone, welcome to our first week of The Slight Edge.
Woo!
Oh, I'm so excited to do this. Can I say that this has been a book that's sort of been on my to-read list for I would bet you, well, it was before COVID, probably 4 years at least. When was this written? Maybe I can't go back that far, but for sure 3 years.
2018, I think.
Yeah, for sure 3 years, because I remember Lori Bradford, well, Welch, whatever you want to call her, talking about this book forever ago. And I think I even started to listen to some of it on YouTube at one point in time because I remembered some of the stories in the first chapter. I'm like, I feel like I've listened to some of this before. But as always, if you guys are joining us live or on the recording, if you haven't read the material, it's okay. You will still come away with what you are meant to come away with, right? If you can't, or right now it's not a priority to sit down and read the particular book that we're reading, but you're okay to dedicate an hour to talking about it while you're folding laundry or whatever, like that's great, right? We operate in a good, better, best situation, and just coming and hearing the conversation is so good. Like there's nothing wrong with this. In fact, I actually, you know what? I read these 2 chapters and I'm like, I feel like we could go faster with this book. Didn't you feel that way? I was like,
yes, I did.
This is an easy read, which I think when we embarked on it, I was like, oh, this looks like maybe it's going to be heavy for the summer. Because Sherry had brought a different book forward and we're like, well, we've already announced we're doing The Slight Edge, so I guess we got to do that one. And then when we read it, when we started reading, I'm like, oh, yeah, no, and Sherry agreed. It's just so easy to read.
So just something I learned just reading the preface of it is that there's a teen version. So if you go through this and think, oh, I wish my kids could kind of get these slight edge strategies, he came out with a teen version in 2008. I don't know how available it is, but it was created.
I'm kind of interested to know what the difference is in between.
Don't know.
Real teens talk about using the slight edge.
I think maybe
friendly format.
The examples maybe reference more teens. So, but that's cool. Anyway.
I did love that, and I've talked about this already before, but Brittany Howard had bribed her son by paying his phone bill to read the book and to write a little synopsis after every chapter. And I just thought that was brilliant. It really did get me thinking. I mean, in the stage of life that I'm at, I've got kids at home and I've definitely not above bribery to having them read. Soundtracks is kind of the first one that I'm wanting one of them to read. And I think that this is so important, this work. Like Sherry, when your kids were younger, were you reading a lot of personal growth, like that kind of stuff?
So this is really interesting because he refers to something called TPN.
Yes, and I know what that is. Yeah.
And that's what was on my TV. And that's what my kids watched. And you'll hear Brenna now and then refer to the TPN shows that were on. So less reading, but definitely personal development.
Interesting. That's so yeah. I think I feel like it's just sort of another light that gets turned on, right? And another tool that can make people so successful. So, all right, how the slight edge works. Loved the quote right at the beginning. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be.
Yep. I got it highlighted and my thought was, gee, we could spend a whole hour talking about what's the picture of who we're destined to be.
I know. I have to read Diana's comment here quick. She said, after reading and talking excessively about soundtracks, Cam is now reading it. That's awesome. I love it. And now you can excessively talk about it together.
Love it.
That's so awesome. I continuously am amazed at how when we start into a book together, you guys, it's like everything else in life sort of attunes to whether life attunes to the book or the book attunes to your life or whatever. But I feel like these thoughts in the first 2 chapters have been things that I have been thinking about and have been like permeating my thoughts already without the book. And then the book comes in and it's like, well, look at that. Isn't that fantastic? I think that quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson is kind of a double-edged sword to a certain extent. And we talk about it in this business as, at the end of the day, like, I mean, Emily Gibson would say, the best news ever is that it's all up to you. Sometimes it feels like it's not the best news ever, but I promise you it is the best news ever, that it is all up to you. And so when you're talking about, I really wish I was someone else. Well, guess what? The best news ever is that when you decide something different for yourself and you really decide it, you're the one that can make that happen. I actually was laying in bed this morning thinking about that for myself and my family, and I just totally unconnected to the book, just things that I want, places that I want to be, accomplishments, all those things. And I come back to this quote and I'm like, I guess it's kind of up to me, right? I just need to decide it. What are your takes on that, Sherry? What kind of wisdom do you have to impart to us on that? Because I feel like you've got a lot.
Well, I absolutely agree with it. But I think that one of that key points on that quote is, first you have to decide, who is it you want to be? And as you start becoming intentional with who it is you want to be, then you can start thinking about, well, the person that I want to be, what do they do when they get up in the morning? Who do they talk to? What are they thinking about?
Yes. What do they eat?
What do they eat? Yeah, what do they eat? Do they take their supplements?
Do they exercise? You guys, that has been like,
drink.
Yeah, right. I will interject there. Like, I realized, like, I'm a little slow. Like, I think that my brain is molasses sometimes, other times it's on speed. And sometimes it takes a while for thoughts to really like settle into like action for me. Guess what a lot of very highly successful people do in their day, every day?
Exercise.
They exercise. They exercise and they do it because they know it's good for them, right? Or they have a goal in mind for their physical health, or it's part of their mental health goal, right? And how easy is it to not exercise? Diana is this beautiful picture of consistency. She gets on that treadmill. She does the things, right? Like it is, and she's in great shape. By the way, Diana, your pictures lately, whew, nobody would believe that you're a grandma to how many? Like, stop it right now. Way to go. But I've been realizing that it is a part of the puzzle, right? There is a reason people who are highly successful choose to move their bodies, because it's a part of it all. Oh, you do have 7 grandchildren. One of them just is not quite with us yet. That number 7 is still a grandchild. It's just not born yet.
I think the other part of it is the attitude that we do the things with. And he talks in the beginning about the beach bum and the millionaire, and it's the same person. And the movement of body is, are you doing it with that grudging, I have to, or are you doing it with that attitude of, man, I get to, and aren't I blessed?
The abundance versus the scarcity mindset. Man, why is that such a hard thing? Like, maybe it is a shift, right? That I get to.
It's a shift.
I have to. I have somebody on my Instagram who's local to me, and she's not, I think she's a Beachbody coach, but she doesn't, like, that's not her bent. Like, she shares her life, and she does some baking and whatever else. But every day she takes a slide, like a picture of herself in the mirror, and it's today's get tos. And then she puts like 4 or 5 things that she gets to do that day. And so whether that's like baking or working out or whatever. And oftentimes by the time she takes the picture, she's done a couple of those things. So she puts check marks beside them. And I thought that would be such a cool thing to do. Wouldn't that be a neat thing for us to do as a team? Like, I'm all about the ripple effects right now, you guys. Like, what if, like, we talked about starting to like normalize the pink drink, right? So we're starting to take pictures, like trying to do pictures every day, holding the pink drink, doing like, whether you're talking in a story with, like, you're talking with your pink drink or whatever. But what if we started to normalize that get to attitude? Like, I get to fold some laundry. I get to weed my garden. Right? So if I can make a mini challenge to us for the week, I think that that would be really fun to post 5 get to stories. If you guys can make a note to that, and we can all start doing, and maybe this is, maybe I'm pushing some of y'all out of your comfort zone. I've noticed that Amy is doing lots of awesome selfies on her deck. I'm loving that in her stories. But if we could start taking pictures of ourselves, Linda is like, you are calling me out. Stop it right now. If we can start taking pictures of ourselves with those get tos, and I will try to take a picture and send into, do we need a chat for this book study? For our little mini challenges and stuff? I think maybe we do. Why not? I feel like I'm down a chat or two. I'm gonna make a note of it. I think that it would be really fun to just be able to do that and like encourage each other to do those kinds of things. So I'm going to write this down. So we're going to do 5 get to stories this week. And I promise you, you will start to create ripples in people around you.
I like
All right.
it. I like it on page 9 where he talks about you don't need to do some brilliant, impossible thing. You don't need to learn some insanely difficult skills or have some genius level brainstorm of an innovative idea. All you have to do is keep doing the things that got you this far, which is exactly what 99.9% of people don't do.
Right? Ah.
Yep.
Absolutely. I also love that he took the time to mention, I didn't change who I was as much as I changed what I did. Because sometimes we can look at this social media sphere, right? And go, I need to change who I need to change this about me. I need to change this about me. I need to change this about me. Or even like when you get into personal growth, right? We can feel like there are parts that need to be not just refined, but like seriously overhauled. But the essence of who you are needs to stay the same. You need to stay who you are. Otherwise, all of a sudden, you're super inauthentic. Sherry, where was the 99%?
Page 9 at the bottom.
Page 9 at the bottom.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm looking for it on 2 because I swear I highlighted it. Yeah.
Page 9. I'm moving right along in the book.
I love it. You know, and I think that this 99% thing though is really important, especially in the summer.
Yeah.
Can we talk about summer for a minute? Because the easy thing to do would be to allow yourself to get carried away with all the goodness of summer. But Nicole Crawford and I were talking the other day, and I said, how many times do we have a summer where we start out, we're like, oh, I just want to be super involved with my kids, or want to be plugged in with my family. We're going to do all these things, whatever. And then all of a sudden at the end of the summer, you're like, what just happened? That time just evaporated. It's gone, right? And yeah, you did some good stuff and you hung around and you know, whatever, you were present and all those things. But don't you think that if you were super intentional in a couple areas of your life, you would feel like it was a summer well spent? And then that summer well spent could carry you into a fall well spent.
I think Diana made a comment in the chat about I'm blessed to have the time to exercise every day. And I think that's sort of that slight edge of I have the time to do the things that are important for me. And we talked about that when we were talking about soundtracks. And that's that scheduling that time, schedule those special events with your kids. And you know they're going to happen, or with your grandkids, but also intentionally schedule the 30 minutes that you're going to do your IPA, or the hour that you're going to be on book study, or the 30 minutes that you're going to call a friend. Like the things that you know bless you, that are the slight edge things.
Totally. And Diana, I want to say the other thing too that's so brilliant about your exercising every day is that you have said, this is a priority for me. This is a priority for me, and I'm doing it, right? And so, yes, you're blessed to have the time to do it, but you've made that time. Because I will guarantee you that there are people who have time coming out their wazoo who choose not to exercise, and then they complain about that they never exercise. So good on you for the shift. And I know it's not a new shift. It's something that you've done for years.
Yes, actually, I started back in 2009. I had been diagnosed with high cholesterol, and there was nothing that was working for me at all. I tried the statins, I broke out in hives. Didn't matter. I ate right, it didn't matter. And so I thought, okay, well, we're going to add exercise to the routine, and it was not easy. Cam bought me a treadmill. I love to walk outside, but not at -40. And so he bought me a treadmill. I set it up in front of his desk because I needed some accountability. And I would hop on there for 10 minutes. That's all I could do. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so bored. Like, what do I do on here? Right. And so I just 10 minutes. And I did that probably for, oh gosh, 4 months. Like, it takes me a long time, right? And so then after 4 months, I said, well, if I can do 10 minutes, maybe I can do 20 minutes. And so I upped it. And I never did get beyond an hour, but I feel like an hour is a good chunk of time. And, you know, that hour goes by like that. I have so many things I'm doing on my treadmill, business-wise, personally, watching, podcasts, stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh, wow, my hour's over already. And so it's actually been a blessing. And yes, Sherry, I have been blessed to be able to set my mind to do that. And I've been blessed that even my children, when they want to go, do you want to take the grandkids? I can take them after 10. And they know that. There's no before 10. And Cam has been so good. I've actually got him exercising again. He's at 20 minutes, so that's great, but not on the treadmill. He's on the bike. And of course, that's his thing. So yeah, such a blessing for sure.
That's awesome.
I'd really like to point out the key thing that Diana said there, in that she said she set boundaries. On her value to her decision. Yep, I can do it after 10. And that is maybe one of the biggest nuggets of the morning, Diana.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the key thing when we choose the beach bum with a millionaire. That's the millionaire choice.
Right. And I haven't always put myself first. Like, of course, when my kids were little, I was never first. Yep. But now that they're grown and they have their own children, and those boundaries have to be set. There's just no getting around it. And we respect each other's boundaries because we've set them, few years back.
I love the concept that boundaries are for us. They're not for other people. They're for us. They're for us so that we protect the time that is important to us and we get to do those things that we need to do. Because I mean, I don't know that I ever really thought about it as to who the boundary was for before, but when Emily had done a workshop this month on boundaries and she said, the boundary is for you. And I was like, oh, huh, the heck you say? You're right, it is. That's pretty awesome. I love that. So I want to go back to page 9 here with the illustrations about success, survival, and failure. And it kind of brings my mind back to that graphic that we've seen so often of the two miners, right? On like, they're kind of parallel. And one of them is digging and digging and digging for the gold. And the other one has dug and they're like this far away from finding the gold and they turn around and they leave, right? And the other one is still mining. How often do we keep doing the things that we're doing that bring us survival, and then we stop doing them and we crash down into that failure point, right? Which in the book, I'm so glad he's saying failure is not bad. We'll get there. But if you kept on doing those things, right, that's what leads to the success, right? And I want to talk again, just go back to the summer concept because it's where we are. I think of the times that I was the most disciplined in my business. And so when I say that, and I know there's some people who are probably newer to doing the business watching, when I say when I was the most disciplined in my business, please do not hear that I was working 8 hours in a day. There were times when I was working all day, every day, working, spending busy time doing things. There was work getting done too, but it kind of, got blended over a very long period of time. The times that I was doing the most focused, productive work, I was putting boundaries on my time and I was getting it all done within an hour or 2 hours. And then I would be like, I'm done now. And I almost had this feeling of, I'm done. I could do something else, right? Instead of that feeling of, I still have to do, I need to message this person. I should have that. If you can be disciplined and give yourself boundaries to do all of the things that you need to get done. Now, depending on what level what kind of goals you have for yourself, that's going to depend on the time frame, I firmly believe. But you can get everything you need to get done finished in half an hour, 2 hours, and then you can go about your day. And you will not only feel like your business will not only grow, but you will have a sense of accomplishment that you're actually moving the needle forward. And it's protecting yourself against burnout because you have respected boundaries for yourself. So many of us have felt burnout in this business. So many of us, so much so that I feel like I've heard 4 different burnout workshops in the last 60 days from different people. It is a thing. But if we don't respect boundaries, if we don't have them, and I think going back to this book in the 2nd chapter, if we don't have that, that essence figured out or the philosophy figured out, we can't even set the boundaries because we don't know what the philosophy is.
I really liked it. I really liked that in his book, he has little summaries at the end of the chapter.
I do too.
The essential points from chapter 1. So, when you're flying through it and you want that little reminder.
What
and
did I miss?
His points that you have complete control over the direction that the rest of your life takes.
I think that is a brilliant affirmation.
Yeah, you already know how to do everything that it would take to make you an outrageous success. Keep doing the things that have gotten you so far.
Whose brain just said, no, I don't? Someone's brain just said, no, I don't. You don't need to call yourself out, but I heard it. You do know. You know the things. You just need to do them. And you just need to keep doing the things so that it'll do this. Right? Keep doing it. Don't be in that 99. Now, did you guys read that post? Speaking of that 99 and the 1%, did you read that post by Brittany Howard? I reposted it the other day, but she also did a reel on it. So hold on just a second. I have to pull it up because it's, oh, come on. Why can't I spell her name right today? Oh, come on. My Facebook isn't wanting to find Brittany Howard today.
While you're pulling that up, Janelle, actually, has anybody had a chance to actually either get the book or listen to the audio? Because we discovered that there is not an audio on Audible. So we're listening to the audio on YouTube. So if any of you have had a chance to listen, what did you notice, or what sort of spoke to you in that first part that you've listened to? Jimmy?
Well, I was going to say, I didn't really like the audio. I tried to start listening to it, but I didn't like the voice. So unless somebody has something better, but then I found well, it wasn't kids. And then I found an animated version. So I started watching that. So I'm not good to talk about it yet, because I think I'm just going to get the book. I thought I could just do the audio, but unless somebody else I know, but that one that it just, yeah, it's like the voice is, it sounds like the computer voice, like, and then, and I was like, I phased out after the second word. So then I found this animated one. So yeah, and I think that the animated one is sort of a summary of does he tell stories in this book? Yes. So it's like the stories about the two guys, one had $1 million, one had a penny. And so, yeah, so I really just have the kids version right now. So I'm going to just get the book, but the kids version was pretty good. So
it's such a light read. Like I think that you'll enjoy it. Like even like the text.
Yeah. So I think I'm just going to I do want to order it for my son to go with his grad gift. And I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to say, look, I'm going to pay. We know how much gas is, whatever, $100, like, man, rich man or rich land here to fill your gas tank. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, look, I'm going to give you this book, but I will give you this gift card after you finish reading the book. And I want to just sit down with you and tell me what you thought of it, or, give me a summary. So, yeah. So, but yeah, you can get on Amazon books that are kind of used too. So if you're like, oh, I don't really want to spend $20 some. So yeah, talk to somebody else. I'd love to hear if somebody else has heard an audio that they're liking. Oops.
I think Amy's got it in chat. Yeah, go ahead, Diana.
I actually have listened to about the first 30 minutes of the audio, the YouTube, and I had to listen to the first 5 minutes 10 times because I could not catch what she was, putting down or whatever. And so once I kind of got through the first 5 or 10 minutes, it got easier to understand. And what I kind of picked up from her was to do like 1% of something every single day for a year. Right. And so whatever that might be, exercising, reaching out to people, whatever that might be for you, just do a little bit every day. And that's kind of what I got out of it. I haven't been able to find another audiobook, Jimmy Lou, at all. That is the whole book. And so kind of once I got through those first few minutes, and like I said, I had to restart it. I was like, what are you talking about? And then she doesn't, until she gets to chapter 4, she doesn't tell you what chapter she's on. And so I stopped it at chapter 5, and I'm like, okay, so we're 29 minutes in or whatever it was. And I'm like, okay, so what happened in chapter 1 and 2? And I have trouble retaining stuff in my brain. I have so much in there that it just doesn't stick. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I got out of the whole audio thing so far.
So what you're saying is that you need to re-record it with chapters. Wouldn't that be great? Now that's going next level for your team, is recording an audio version of. Anyway,
Oh.
I don't know that we need to go there quite yet. Okay, chapter 2, the first ingredient, do the thing and you shall have the power. I was like, that's kind of an extreme way to put it, but I guess it's kind of true.
Well, that's how you move past fear. That's how you become excellent at anything, is just simply doing it and doing it and doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually, this first page where he said, I went into sales, because you have to understand, I hated sales. I went into sales, like it was horrible. It's like, if you want to be in management, you have to start in sales. And then at the end, he said it was ironic, but over time, sales changed my life. Not the process of sales, the training that was involved to become someone who could do the sales.
I wish I could remember the name of the book that Abby Kappa talked about that's sales, because guys, everything in the world is sales.
Oh, the women's one?
No, I don't know which one it is. But speaking of which,
Yeah.
we are doing this one with Emily Gibson. Like, and it's not a long book. I'm really excited to read about it because
it's an easy read too.
Yeah, I'm excited. I really want to. That's actually when he started talking about this, I'm like, I feel like I need to do more learning on the sales side. I love sales. I love sales. I probably have sold you all things that you have bought and you haven't even realized it. And I'm so sorry. Speaking of which, this came up, and like this came up in my memories on Instagram the other day. I was talking about my pen, my favorite Sharpie pen, that I love these pens, and they're white. I like the white ones, and they're still my favorite pen. And you should buy them because they're amazing and they don't smudge and they make me happy. They're just fantastic. Or you could get Sherry Grant to give you pens because she lucked out and made a whole bunch of pens with her name on them. And I love that pen too. And I don't know where it is right now, but it's a fantastic pen. I love pens. Yep. See, Diana, just send me your pens. I have a thing for pens. It's their business pen. But everything in the world is sales. And I remember having the conversation with my cousin's husband about sales. And I'm trying to explain Plexus to him years ago. I'm like, it's not really sales. Well, except he's in like the industry of selling like large kitchen appliances to restaurants and supplies and what he's like, everything is sales. Nothing in this world moves without a sales transaction. And that has really stuck with me. And I'm like, so people can crap on sales all they want, but the people that are the most successful generally, I think, have a really good handle on sales, just generally. It's how you talk to people. Anybody, Amy will laugh at this. I want my teenagers to get really good at selling me on like pushing their curfew or giving them more money or letting them go places. Like honestly, I used to use like the Olympic scoring system when they would ask me for something like, yeah, I'm going to give that one like a 3. It's not creative enough. Go back, try again, right? It's a skill. It's a skill.
It is a skill. We used to tell our kids, because especially as teenagers, like you said, they wanted to stay out past curfew. Well, convince me why you should do that. And we used that convince me all the time. And they had to think for themselves and come up with, well, why is this good for me? Well, because, my friends are doing it. I'm not convinced. And we used that on our girls for years. And, it actually does work.
It's brilliant. It's a life skill. I love it. I love it. It's just like how the training that we do with this, like even the Slight Edge, it will not just impact your business. This is going to impact your life in general. Like, I love the stories. I love that they have stories at the end of every chapter where it talks about how it impacted people's lives. The guy's like, it helped me at the end of chapter 2. He's like, it helped me get in better shape. It helped me get out of debt. It helped. I'm like, I'm all for all those things. So are we good to skip ahead and talk about the secret ingredient?
I just wanted to. That's the page I'm on. It's
like
page 19.
Segue.
First
How do I get her
ingredient.
there? Page 19. Go ahead, Sherry.
The secret ingredient is your philosophy. And that's the interesting thing. It's not hard to do, but you have to do it. And he says, focusing on the actions, the what to do's, and the how to do, it's not enough. It's the attitude behind the action that keeps the action in place. And then the question is, so I just need an attitude adjustment. No, it's not that simple. Because it's not that you need fixing. And that's another piece of it. So, because sometimes we get all excited and we're like, okay, we're just going to run with this and we're going to do it. And that's like an inspirational piece, but it doesn't last. And that's when we go back to that roller coaster diagram that he's got in this book of you're doing the things, and then you fall off the wagon and you're not doing the things. And then you're doing the things and you're doing the things and you fall off the wagon and you're not doing the things. And he says, emotions change like the wind. That's why they're called emotions, not standing stills.
I had to read that a couple times. I'm like, what?
I did too. So I actually love page 20 where he's got that diagram.
Mm-hmm.
Where he says on the left, he's got your philosophy, and then he's got creates your attitudes, your actions, your results, creates your life.
Yep.
And the really cool thing is you choose.
It's up to you.
It's up to you.
I think the other thing that really stood out to me was when he said, if you don't change how you think about these simple things every day, or these simple everyday things, then no amount of how-tos will get you anywhere or give you any true solutions. You can read all the books, you can get all the knowledge, but if you don't change how you think, it ain't gonna do anything for you.
And that's just that thing that's simple, the I get to instead of I have to. That's simple, but not easy.
The other thing that I would really encourage you guys to is if you feel like you're doing all of the things and you feel like you have changed your thoughts and you feel like that philosophy is in place, you feel like all those things, I would highly encourage you. I will be a broken record. You guys are going to be like, could you stop? Thought coaching. Thought coaching. Emily Gibson is probably the cheapest. Don't want to say cheapest, because she talks about it, she's like, I want it to be like a Target price or whatever, instead of like the value of Neiman Marcus, but at this price, right? And she has open coaching calls. Like, part of the membership, you can get coached and it's a benefit to everyone else. But oftentimes what we find is that we don't know where the holes are. We don't know where the issues are in our mindset, and we need somebody else to come in and poke around. Right? So while we can do the things here and start the ball rolling with mindset and philosophy, thought process, all of these things, we can do good work. Sometimes we need somebody else to come in and look under the hood. So that's just my plug.
I love how she says that you can't see the inside of the ketchup bottle from the outside.
Right?
You need somebody else's perspective.
Yeah. Yep. The inside of the ketchup bottle. Bob
Heilig is awesome. I agree, Diana.
He is awesome. He is awesome. I also love this. The formula for success is quite simple. Double your rate of failure. Yeah. Well, that sounds comfy, doesn't it? Just like a warm, fuzzy hug, right? But I really identified with that whole failure is not an option. And I remember a time in my business where I approached things that way. And it was like, I'm just going to figure it out. And I remember saying to my upline, I don't know what I don't know. So if you see something, just tell me and I'll change it. I'll do it. I'll do the work. Like I had that motivation to go forward, but lacked understanding that failure is good. It's just like pruning. And I remember my friend talking about pruning her tomato plants. And she's like, it's almost killing me to do it because I feel like I'm cutting back all of this good stuff. But apparently, this was the first year she'd ever done it. Apparently, it's going to give me a whole lot more tomatoes. So I'm just going to hold my breath and I'm going to cut all these beautiful branches and stalks off. And it's going to do better things.
I really liked his example about Babe Ruth.
Yes.
And, you know, if Babe Ruth had lived by the philosophy that failure is not an option, because Babe Ruth led the league in strikeouts. He also is the person we heard of. He set the world record for home runs. But if he hadn't led the league in strikeouts, he also would not have led in home runs. So that sort of go for no, that whole comment about every no brings you closer to a yes, every strikeout is closer to a home run.
And I don't know a whole lot about baseball. Just like Genevieve, I love it when she uses baseball terms. She's like, I don't know baseball, but I'm going to. But wouldn't you think that Babe Ruth could have taken the safer swing to not swing for a home run?
Yeah.
Right? He could have swung, he could have bunted. He could have like just done a short hit into midfield.
Yeah.
But his whole plan was to go for the home run. So you swing hard, right? And you can miss. He wasn't going for the most hits. He was going for the most home runs.
And he kept on swinging.
Mm-hmm. Kept on going. Your philosophy is your view of life, something beyond feelings and attitudes. Your philosophy drives your attitudes and feelings, which drive your actions. And that's not to say, like he does talk about how people are looking for a big break and that, you know, whatever. And I think all of us kind of think, you know, it would be really great to sign up like a dream teamer. Like if I could have a Sherry Grant on my team, that would just be so great. Or a Jimmy Luborn, or a Linda Fuglerud, or like any of y'all on your screen. If you could sign one of you'd have it made, right? And we think about that, and that's okay because it will happen. Like you will sign somebody, and they'll be a rock star. But you still need the philosophy. You still need the thought process, right? And I think that that's kind of reflected in, like if we're twisting it kind of to go with our business, right? You still need that philosophy in order to continue to build that legacy business. You need, it's how Eva talks about, build longer tables. You don't build higher walls, you build longer tables, right? Or people being afraid that, oh, the money's going to change me. No, the money's just going to amplify what you do already. So what are you doing with what you have currently? And that's what he's talking about, people who win the lottery, right? Their winnings change their bank account balance, but it didn't change their philosophy. So if your philosophy is set first and you're doing the right things and you have the right mindset and the right expectations for yourself and you're doing the right work, when you have that rock star that comes on your team, because you will, here's the other thing, you will attract it when your philosophy is aligned with where you want to go. When they come in, you will be so much better equipped to serve them than you were before you aligned that philosophy with your values. We'll go back to Emily. Emily did a coaching call this week. And this lady was talking about so I'll have to preface how this whole call went. She was talking about how she had signed her husband first, and then she signed up underneath him. And she had been working his account and her account for years. And she actually rose really quickly. But she had decided earlier this year that she wasn't going to put anybody else underneath his account. She was just going to work hers. Brilliant idea. Then she encountered this lady who she'd been working on for 5 years, and she knew that she was going to be amazing, and she was signing her up, and she had her underneath her account. And then all of a sudden at the last minute, she changed all the information. She put her under him. Well, what happened? She is a rock star. And now his account, because now he has a strong outside leg, is going to potentially hit Emerald before hers. And she was having some issues with this. And Sherry and I were talking a little bit about this. Am I missing any parts of the story? I'm just trying to collect where I'm going.
That's good.
So she was talking about this with Emily, and she was finding it really difficult that he was going to hit Emerald before she was.
Her brain was going to that space where he would get to walk across the stage and she'd done all the work. And that was where her brain was going with the thinking, which is a totally normal place to go.
Yep. But the thing that Emily was dissecting with her was like, so now she's got this rock star on her team, and she's been here for, I don't know, 6 years.
Yeah.
However long she's been here with the company. And she's saying, they're growing so much faster than I am. And I can't remember what the exact word was, but there was a direct comparison between her leg and this other leg. And she said, at the beginning, I was bringing in 19 or 20 people a month personally. Can you guys imagine? 19 or 20 people every month, personally sponsored. And she's like, but they're gone. And Emily said, but they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be. They're not supposed to be with you anymore. Maybe they're supposed to come back. But that was all part of you getting to where you are now. They've played their role. They've done the thing. So don't look at who left or your quote inability to serve them or to help them or to whatever you want to put in there, whatever emotion you want to tag on to those people. They're not supposed to be there. And I thought, wow, that's super encouraging, right? Because we can look back at our businesses and be like, man, if I'd only been this aligned with my purpose, or with my philosophy then I could have had, whatever. We won't actually attract those business builders, those big players in our businesses, and be able to support them the right way until, like, not even the support piece, but you won't even attract them until you have aligned with that purpose, with that essence, with that philosophy. So don't worry about those people that have gone. That's what I'm saying. They were supposed to.
And they're a part of you becoming who you are today. Because
And
you're becoming,
learning the leadership roller coaster, because it is, right? And it's just whether you choose to buy into the roller coaster or not. Leaders that have left my business, I can think of a lesson that I've learned each time that has grown me into a better leader than I was before. And I know things, and, it sucks when they're close to you, but it's a gift. It really is. Also love Emily's philosophy. She's like, oh, they'll be back. She's like, my assistant, she's like, they'll quit, and she'll be like, oh, they'll be back. She's like, she even knows it now.
I really like page 23 in the book. He talks about there's a natural progression to everything in life. And we talk about this all the time. Plant, cultivate, harvest. And while we're harvesting, if we're not also planting, then it will affect the future harvest. If while we're harvesting, we're not also cultivating, it will affect the future harvest. So it's just really interesting about how he suggests maximizing the value from the book in terms of highlighting, reviewing, reflecting, and maximizing that harvest by going back and cultivating the seeds of thoughts that he planted as you read it the first time.
I think it would be a really neat thing. We were listening this week to that. I can never remember what we're calling it. Summer Success, the little diamond blips that we're listening
June
to.
Success Tips, yeah.
Yeah. And they were talking about a personal growth plan. Well, wouldn't it be cool if what you did was you had a notebook, like a specific notebook for the year, and you did exactly what he just said, like highlight the points that really stand out to you, and then put them in the notebook for the year for every book that you read. And then at the end of the year, you could go back and reread all of those highlighted nuggets out of your book. I think that would just be brilliant. And then you could have your own volumes of wisdom.
And you could share the slight edge of your intentional growth plan.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
So, essential points from chapter 2. Your philosophy creates your attitudes, which create your actions, which create your results, which create your life. Successful people fail their way to the top. Do the thing, and you shall have the power.
So as we're going into convention, every person that you see that's going to speak, realize that we see a lot of their highlight reels, like a lot, right? I'm going to use Jess as an example. Okay. One could choose the thought process. Oh, she's a naturopathic doctor. Of course, she's a diamond something in plexus. It would just be so much easier. And you know what? She would set you back on your keister with her tales of the struggles that she has had and the things she's had to overcome and all of those things. So look at each one of these individuals who are speaking and realize that they're speaking to you from a place of humility. That's why I love our company, our top leaders. And I wish you were all coming to convention, because you cannot understand how humble these people are until you were in a room with the top earners who are, they speak from a heart of having failed and come back out of it again. And they want the same thing for you. Because usually when we're down, we're feeling like we're in the pit of failure. And they want you to keep going on that slight edge, right? Above. So look at them all as they have failed a lot. Yeah, they are human too. Life is 50-50. That is like the most freeing piece of advice. My family isn't totally like willing to like grasp it yet. I'm like, well, I hope that y'all can grasp it. I will be a 50-50 mom all the time. Like 50% good, 50% a mess. That's what you get. Sometimes you get the mess. Sometimes you get the awesome. Do the thing.
Do the things.
No matter how good the information is, it won't do you any good unless you have the right catalyst that will let you apply it effectively. And I think we have seen that. And I think this is a really good closing note. How many times we've gone through the 5 levels of leadership or the 21 laws of leadership or whatever, those life-changing books that tell you something different, the Bible, every time, because you have a different view of what the catalyst is to apply it effectively to your life at that moment, or you're choosing different thoughts around it. Awesome. Any other last thoughts? Thank you guys so much. I so appreciate it. I know people are in and out and doing all their things, but even seeing your faces for 5 seconds this morning is just like the greatest joy. So thank you all. And I think we are going to, we'll have book study next week, but we will not have it the week after on the convention weekend because we will be traveling. Cheryl has my flight booked at stupid o'clock. Bless her that she booked my flight. That I don't even care. I won't go to bed. Doesn't matter.
We're all leaving at that same time. So it's just going to be a together thing.
So Linda, we're not going to bed after the 70s party. We're just going to go pack and we're going to leave. All right, guys, I'm going to put us all in a chat. And you know what? I'm not even going to mention it in like other places because if somebody watches the recording, they'll know to ask to be in the chat. So that'll be, or I mean, if you know somebody who's going to be here, like, yeah, you can pop them in. But yeah, I'm just going to make it and it's going to be good. So I'm just going to take a picture just for, the way that we do things. I'm going to take a picture of us all. Linda usually takes a picture and then tags everybody. Thank you for doing that. It's so valuable as I'm flapping my gums. Awesome. I am just going to stop the recording really quick.